Hello, and this is to do with the rain or flooding and extreme weather. Now, I know that what I'm seeing is, and I'll have to check it later, that there has been flooding and severe rains coming in. And what I'm seeing is really not so much on here, on Western Australia, but it's as if it's kind of hitting this way. So here is going to be an intense area of rain. Sydney, Newcastle, and New South Wales, these are all going to have experienced a lot of flash flooding and all kinds of other really heavy rainfalls. So it's I'm seeing as much as 2 to maybe 5 feet of water in certain areas where it's the deluge is so intense. This will be around about the end of January, the more intense weather. I believe it's already flooding and going into that. But also here in Queensland, I'm seeing huge areas, swaths of area in here in certain spots that are really getting dumped on, where it is so intense that unfortunately people are being washed away. So this extreme, it's like an El Nino, but not. It's as if it's a weather system that's going to last not 1 or 2 weeks, but it'll come in waves and it'll go and last for 3 months. This intense, weird weather. I don't know what the weather usually is. I apologize. I should have looked that up. But I'm trying to make sure I get these predictions for you out. But I think it really started a tiny bit in August, but the real 3-month core that I'm seeing where it's more intense on rains are from really November 25th right through round about the 26th or the 28th of February. So I am warning people in low level areas and also around here in Adelaide and South Australia, there seems to be a lot of flooding here too, but it's mostly, there's a lot of intense weather systems, even tornadoes I'm seeing, more in here. There's as if there's a tri-tornado here, it's an F2 to F3, but it's like a dust storm, but it's not the traditional, it's as if it's the heat and the two systems are hitting and then creating that, not hurricane, but tornadoes. Obviously, hurricanes outside, but there it's typhoons. I am seeing, and I might as well bring in, and that's for the weather. I will say that it's going to be pretty extreme. I'll talk about fires in a minute, but the extreme water, I mean, the flooding is pretty bad. It's kind of on par with, I don't know if this is true, about if weather was so bad 17 years ago, I'm seeing, where it was really flooding, and maybe in 1939 as well. I don't know why those dates. As you know, how I read and how I do predictions is I can go backwards and forwards because I'm reading from energy and dimensions, through energy and dimensions. So that's where those 2 dates, somebody could let me know if that's true. If I have time, I'll look it up. But basically, you are going to have a really rough time where people, farms, small communities, which I'm really concerned about, the Australians, where they're elderly and young, are going to be in very precarious positions. So please, if anybody has been following me, and I have been correct, I don't know, please be careful for the next 3 months. Now, there is another system that's coming in kind of about 15% to 17%, not as bad as this, so it's lower in category, but you're going to have another severe load of storms coming in at the end of August, where it's really intense heat, but it's also coming in, and high heat as usual. Records are going to break, okay? The lower temperatures, yes, it's going to nudge a few, but not as much as the high heat. It's going to be really breaking quite a few records, as I said before. But around about August 5th through September 29th, there's 2 months there that it's going to have heavy rainfall again, and the flooding is more in Queensland, Brisbane, round about there, and then funnily enough on this area here. Okay, so that's on the flooding, and I'm sorry. There is a typhoon that I'm seeing that's developing, and it's the system, even though they're mostly up there coming into Japan and everything and Asia, I'm seeing something like a hurricane or something here, and I'm seeing it kind of nudge Brisbane, affecting Newcastle, kind of not really affecting it, but there's some severe weather, which is again intense storms. And this is about the beginning of August, the 5th of August. So it's coming up from here, and it's a weird system. It really is strange, and it starts and it just peters out. And I don't know if there's ever been any kind of hurricanes there, but I am seeing quite severe damage there, and I'm seeing, sorry, not hurricanes, it'll be typhoons, but it'll be on par with a Cat 3 touching 4. They may even project a 5, which is strange, but I don't think, it's as if it peters off and then it starts again up here, and really, let me just bring that down, and it really starts developing into a hurricane. It stops and stores, and I really feel it's the same system, and it starts back up again and then moves across here through the Philippines, touching there, but going through Vietnam, Cambodia, around about there. And that is not a 5, it's more like a 4. It develops into a 4, but kind of peters nearly out, goes down to a 2 before hitting land, okay? But back into Australia, that's something that you have to be watching out for, okay? Tasmania seems to be safe at the moment. It is going to get that storm system that I told you, and raining, and it's going to really practically be 2/3 of the island, I'm afraid. So there's a deluge in Tasmania of a lot of water, flooding, and there are quite a few low-lying areas at the bottom of the mountains that need to be protected from any kind of causal flooding, which I'm worried about for humans and animals. All right, so that's that on that. Again, Tasmania will break a few heat records, but not a lot. But at 3, I'm seeing that they're going to exceed by anything from 3 to 5 degrees above what their norm is. All right, what else can we talk about? I'm going to really, I was breaking it out into sections, but I'm going to do Australia all in one here. Now, droughts, opposite. What I'm seeing, let me put it on another section here. King waves, and I'm seeing the king waves, and it's from this side, and it's hitting here, and it's really from here. That's where the actual prime, the peak of the king wave is round about here, but it's going to give high tides into this area where it's giving, I mean, great for, what do you call it, boogie boarding, or, you know, whatever, you know, doing the curl and whatever, high tides, but it's going to be a good 9 to sometimes 15 feet. But the king waves I'm talking about will reach there in that upper portion around about here, is to do with about 75 to 80 feet, and it's about 3 days that it's going to be. It's as if, really nothing to do with the tsunami though. And that's a strange, it's just one of those phenoms that happen naturally on Earth, okay? I did talk about extreme lightning is a good word. It sounds strange, but extreme lightning. And it's different kind of storms where it's like a dry storm and the lightning is more dangerous. Lightning and thunder is far more dangerous, and it seems to be affecting quite a few countries. More so in the dry climates, not even more in the wet season. But I'm seeing that in Australia there's going to be different level, and you could see some of the other videos where I talk about it more in detail, but the lightning is getting more extreme, where it's actually not only fragmenting more, but it's doing far more devastation, fires, and that's what we're going to talk about next, but really a lot of extreme and intense lightning, and the lightning seems to be far more widespread, louder, intense, and it's not your imagination. And I don't know if I could even find something online, but anyway, if somebody wants to take time to do that, that's great. But I am seeing far more different types of extreme weather, and this is one of them. Okay. Droughts or at least the severe droughts, which they're saying is really growing, but quite frankly what I'm seeing is the drought areas are expanding, and you're going to experience more droughts, even though it's meant to be, I think, the rainy season, but more from April, May, and the week and a half, start of week in June, okay? And it's going to expand more into the northern territories up there, into Queensland, and it's as if it's expanding there, that it's more severe I'm talking about. Yes, there's obviously those periods where I told you, which I don't think is the real rainy season, but that's what I'm seeing if it's a cyclone or something. And it's a tip of here that I'm seeing a drought area. Okay. Actually seeing quite about 3 major dust storms, and you're going to see dust devils, and I'm sure you do see it round about here, but I am seeing one hitting into this end of Queensland, where it's literally a not dust, but a sandstorm. So, and it's pretty like a haboob, to be honest, where it's literally saturating a city there in Queensland, but also near Brisbane. Okay, there's one here, but it's as if it peters out by the time it really hits any kind of major civilization. All right, so that's really dust storms and haboob to do. And fires, there's a large, like a forest fire. Let me see if I can get in here a bit more, that I'm seeing, and it's really, I know this is all, but it's raging from just outside Brisbane here, and it's all here. So it's not a huge area, but I mean, as large, but it's a lot of real estate is lost there. So there's going to be there are about 5 major fires, but it's in the Northern Territory. There's one, a smaller one in Western Australia, and there's one here, but those are the main ones that's going to be. And again, I realize with the dry lightning I told you about, and also just the dryness and the droughts, that's a potential, which is what we are suffering here in America too, with those as well here. Riots. There's going to be a lot of riots, but it's to do with government policy, and I hate to say this too on race, but they're going to be in areas such as Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, in the main places, but also in Brisbane and certain of the northern territories. And these are younger people, and that's where the shootings are as well. So not mass murder, but shootings. Okay, so I really feel sorry because there's police getting involved in that one, and they're going to be hurt. Okay. Terrorism is something that I had talked about quite a bit, about how it is increasing, but it's about more hate crimes than anything else now. It's subtly changing, and not that ISIS or the Taliban are being not as active, but where they're using the tools of the young mind, and they're the ones who are really trying to cause chaos. I do see one cell, and it's more in near Sydney. That's a cell of 3 of them trying to do some devastation into killing a large crowd. So it's as if it's in a, not a marketplace, but somewhere like a mall, but it's outside. So it's a very popular area. I think it's a tourist area. So, and that could be in late August, 27th of August or something. But there are several other incidences around which the police seem to be very good there in Australia, and are doing their level best to actually not cauterize the wounds, but literally get them before they do any kind of destructive acts. So it will be kind of on the increase, about 5% more attacks, but it's not as bad. Now there is something that's coming through, but I don't know if it's going to be a reality. I hope it isn't. As I always say, all of these predictions, I hope they don't come true, and it's okay with me if I'm not correct. It's just because the level of it, but I see some kind of bridge. It's not a major bridge, but there is a bomb on the bridge. So I hope I'm wrong. That's something that's coming in, and I think it's more in November. Okay, I don't know if there are any holidays in November in Australia. Okay, so that's terrorism. Hi, I'm touching on suicides at the moment, and this one is really obviously a sensitive subject: suicidal depression, darkness, and it's all to do, a lot to do with this because of this changing energy, which I'm trying to explain in the new book. But I will try and get it, but life is really getting in the way at the moment for me, whether I like it or not. A lot of people know what that's like. Now, other people who are doing the same kind of work as I do, who are sensitive to what is going on and the energies around, will confirm it, that there are actually a ton of suicides, far more than they've ever seen before. It really gets worse after August, by August next year. It's as if something ramped up and people are just leaving the planet, and they're getting very, very depressed, dark. And I am going to put that video out, but it's going to upset a few people, but it's also hopefully helping a few people, where they don't feel so alone, that somebody out there is hearing the madness and the horrible darkness that they're going through inside themselves and their heads. And it's not to do with that you're crazy. It's nothing like that. It's just everything closing in. Life is closing in. Even people who, you know, are functioning. I'm going to try and give a few things that might help. I don't know. I'm not a clinician. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist. I always put that out there. I'm just trying to, there are different ways that I hope certain things will help you get through, and that you don't have to pursue that final act. Okay, but I am seeing it, and it's going to actually hit far more in, there's going to be higher incidences in Queensland and Adelaide more than anywhere else. And then third would coming in the Northern Territories. And weather sometimes has got to do with it. I don't know why, but it could be because it's just a lot of devastation too, and fires. So I'm afraid that has a lot to do with the suicides. Okay, that's it. Thank you. On earthquakes, I'm going to cover very quickly here. You are going to, if not, you're also already seeing a few. You should be soon. And you'll realize, obviously, you knew about the 7.5 in New Caledonia, which was around about here, and it's got a huge amount of afterquakes still going on. And of course, there's another fault line by the look of it, just here, coming around here and coming down here, going right, slashing right through New Zealand, which is why they're getting in a lot too. But you are going to see an after effect where the plate is moving, that I could see that way. I don't know if that's true, but it's kind of moving that way. All right, so basically you are, they're smaller earthquakes, but you're going to see it near Brisbane, outside here, Brisbane, in little areas here, and this is going to be a bit more active, even in Tasmania, small ones, but not as huge. There may be a 5.5 round about here, 5.7, and inland about 3.4. There's going to be others around here, and this has been always active in here, this area as well. But these are small earthquakes, even though some of them can be as around about 10, 10 feet down, or kilometers, 10 kilometers. So I am seeing this is what I'm seeing anyway, is that this is going to be a bit, how can I say it? It's really from here, down here, and here. There are going to be little spot ones here that are going to be around about from 2.8 up to 4.5. This one is going to be, it doesn't seem to be very stable, that area anyway, but that one is going to be maybe a 4.2, maybe could be a 5.3-ish, all about 5 to 10 kilometers depth. Okay, but it's really, there are going to be far more earthquakes, I hate to say it, here. No tsunami, but I do see there's going to be another one here. So could be as high as 7.9, 8.2, but it's about here. But this is going to have a counter with New Zealand, I'm afraid, and have that be reactionary, should I say. And I'll talk about New Zealand later. I want to stay focused here on Australia. Okay, that's earthquake. Thank you.